Hello everybody, it's me, your boy Matt, and I'm here with a very special little vlog, I guess you'd call it. As you can see here, I have a little bit of news. I've gotten a bunch of books of Mr. Snuffles, so I'll be handing those out and passing those out, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of exposure from that. But today I'd like to give you a brief tour guide of my library. And this is like the first time in my entire life that I've actually had a real sort of bookshelf here. So I'd like to kind of, and I went and, snap warning, I went ahead and organized it for y'all. It was rather messy before. So it's all nice and pretty, like a real like a real boy. So up top I have some various knickknacks. I have Mr. Armadillo here. That's a real plant. I water him about once every 2 weeks or so. I have a commemorative Aegis from Dota 2 International last year, along with some paperweights there, some Aztec or Mayan pyramids. So the first two books I'll show you, Norman Davies, Europe and the Isles. I read about half of each of them. They're actually amazing books because history, as you know, it can be quite a challenge to go through the entire history, right? The history of Europe, that's like, there's like a whole big old chapter of before 10,000 BC, right? So, but it's really great, very conversational style, and he has these little inserts where he gives little stories, like he'll tell you about Charlemagne's asbestos tablecloth that they would set on fire at the end of dinner parties as kind of a party trick. So fun little stuff like that. All right, so if you look at here, I've had to arrange it somewhat by size, but I've tried to arrange it by content as well, and I've done that somewhat. So we're going to go ahead and start off at the end here. A nice little Fallout puzzle that I haven't done, which I'll try to do this summer. If you see at the end here, you see all of my books from Jim Butcher, who's my favorite, I guess, guilty pleasure right now. I really love this series because it incorporates, it's a fantasy series about a modern day wizard in Chicago, and it incorporates so many different types of mythology. It incorporates fairies, ghosts, vampires, all sorts of stuff. So that appeals to me. I also really like his system of magic. It's a really interesting form of magic. Harry Potter, I don't think, did a great job with magic. It was just kind of saying words and stuff, but in Jim Butcher, he really emphasizes that magic is kind of an extension of your will. I've also put so this is kind of the various nonsense stuff. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, never read it. Good Calories, Bad Calories, I'm really into diet and exercise, studying it, not doing it. TIE Fighter, a game I never owned, but I like reading these things. So I actually had the StarCraft, the original StarCraft, which came out like in '99. I had the strategy guide. Never owned the game until like I went to college, but or 2003 or so. DNA by James Watson. If you've done your science stuff, you should know that James Watson was one of the. Look at that. James Watson was one of the discoverers of DNA, along with Francis Crick. And let me see if I can open it for you. My brother bought this for me in high school, when he was in Chicago. Look at that. James Watson. They're both pricks, as it turns out. Watson and Crick were a bunch of pricks. So, let's see if I can get this in here. History of Milam County. Bridges, which is kind of funny, but my great-great-grandfather built a bunch of bridges in Central Texas. Rhett and Link's Book of Mythicality. That's kind of what my sister and I do. We'll watch this YouTube channel together, so that's kind of our thing. Grumpy Cat, another gift from my sister. Pablo Neruda, guys, if you want to, impress the ladies, read poetry to them, garbage. Infinite Jest. I've read a little bit about this. It's very, very strange, weird. It's by a guy named David Foster Wallace, who's a very interesting guy. Unfortunately, he committed suicide at a rather young age, around 40, so as you can see, I've kind of had to be really creative, because these things are not built to house books. I don't understand it. There's if you put them all in a row here, it's really not very efficient. So we just have some small books here. A Room with a View, Where Angels Feel the Tread. Ian Forster is a cool guy. And then I have two important Russian books here, Demons. I haven't actually read Demons, but I have read several other Dostoevsky books. I've read The Brothers Karamazov and Crime and Punishment. And Dostoevsky is one of the top 5 authors, period. And then we have Gulag Archipelago, which was a very important book that detailed the prison camps in Russia, in which hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people died during the USSR's reign of terror. Right? How many people did Stalin kill? Tens of millions. I'm not exactly sure how many of them died in the gulags, but an awful lot did. So this is kind of my fiction various shelf, and of course we have a very special book here, The Redacted Spy by W.H. Alexander Rumble. But of course, you know who that is. So I actually haven't read all of this book. I've only read the first, maybe third quarter of it. So I'm going to take care of that in the next couple of weeks. It's on my list. Right. In the second one here, we sort of have, I guess you'd call this the classics shelf here. Right? So on the left-hand side, I have all of my Lord of the Rings books there, another Butcher book, and then a few other various books there. But there's my Lord of the Rings collection, my very old Hobbit book here, and then one of my 3 copies of the Odyssey there. And then if you look here, this is kind of the bulk of my classical philosophy collection. I have Aristotle's Metaphysics, Aristotle's Politics, and Nicomachean Ethics. So that's pretty much the 3 most important books here. Oh, there we have Politics. So probably I should move this over to here. Another Ethics, and then I also have my Plato, Protagoras and Meno, and of course we have St. Augustine, and then Plato's Gorgias as well. So if you're going to read Plato, the 3 most important books are the Republic, I think, the Symposium, and Gorgias. Those are the 3 you should start with. Then we have to Augustine, my favorite guy, St. Augustine, City of God, and Confessions, right? And then we have Truth and Tolerance, which is an excellent book. If you're confused about today's culture war, you need to read Truth and Tolerance, which is written by Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger. Of course, you may better know him as Pope Benedict, or Pope Emeritus Benedict right now. Abandonment to Divine Providence by Father Jean-Pierre de Caussade. Have not read that. Does not seem like light reading. And then my favorite ancient classical work is Virgil's Aeneid. I love this one. The world's first fan fiction. So basically this guy, Virgil, was born in around the time of Christ, right? Around 0 BC. He wrote this about a few decades before, I think, Christ, but he was in that same era, right? So the era of Jesus, the era of Augustus Caesar, and so this is in the Roman period, right? So he read the Greek stories of Homer, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and he wrote a fan fiction, because there's a character in the Iliad, a Trojan named Aeneas. And Aeneas flees from Troy after it's destroyed. And Virgil wrote a story about how Aeneas traveled first to Carthage, and then to Rome. And then to Italy, and he founded Rome, essentially. So, the world's first fan fiction, you could say. And here's my other side. Some more very important books. We have C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters. We have more, so we have some, what you might call some devotional books here. Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper. Great book. Gotta be careful. Evangelicals and Tradition, First 3 Gospels, Kierkegaard, Fear and Trembling, and Zizek with God in Russia. Chiswick. Sorry, that's how you pronounce it, Chiswick. And he was a Jesuit who went into Russia during, remember I talked about the Gulag archipelagos, where a Gulag is a camp, a prison camp, where the USSR would put their political enemies. So, Gene Chiswick was a Jesuit priest, an American, who traveled to Russia. He was native Polish. I don't know if by birth or by heritage, but Polish, Chiswick. He went to Russia to basically minister to the people who were in these camps, and he basically had to make himself a prisoner there. All right, and then we have, down on the next shelf, some more. If you look at my collection, I have so much mythology, so much classic stuff. That's really the good stuff, right? So right here in the middle, this is kind of my very small, non-classical political philosophy section. A book on modernity, The Logic of Modernity by Gerald Galgan. I'm writing a whole summary on that. John Locke, Rousseau, Burke. I tell you what, Burke is like the sassiest person ever. Like, Karl Marx can be pretty sassy, and his Brumaire, that's pretty sassy, but he has nothing on Burke. Burke is the king of shade. He ripped them a new one. There's no other way to put it, you know. And then we have another Odyssey, well, two more Odysseys. Oh my goodness, we have 3 Odysseys here. Yes, I think this one might be in Latin. I mean Greek. Yeah, this is in Greek, so it's cool. The Oresteia, Orestes plays Aeschylus. And then we have Beowulf, which is a great story that you should read. If you liked God of War, you should look at Beowulf. It's the same thing, right? Then we have Bullfinch's Mythology. This is why we don't read Bullfinch in class. We read Edith Hamilton. Yeah, we're not getting to that. On this side, I have kind of my reference books here. Wheelock's Latin, which is essential to anyone interested in Latin. My Greek-English lexicon. My Far Side book. And my Thucydides. Thucydides is great. You really need to read Thucydides. He's almost up there with Plato. He's a historian. So if you would say that Herodotus is the father of history, Thucydides is the father of historical criticism. So on the other side, we have my C.S. Lewis here. And we have a little bit more Aristotle, Four Texts on Socrates, which is Plato. We have Nicomachean Ethics again. And we have some more of my, I guess you might call devotional books. Theology books, basically, right? So we have some on Descartes, and we have some discussions on mysticism and Christianity in general, I guess you could say. So it's kind of a big, the whole collection is very, very, what's it called? Related, really, because we have classical stuff that goes into the Church Fathers, and that also goes into the political philosophy and also into my sort of more devotional stuff, right? All right, last page here, right? Last shelf. And here we kind of have my general nonfiction section. We have Peter the Great. We have some discussions about Galileo. This is a great book. I took a class on Galileo Affair. Really, really interesting. In fact, it's back here. And we have some more sort of historical criticism here. I have a few literary fiction books here. Heart of Darkness, Test of D'Urbervilles. Both highly recommend. Steven Pinker, I've had this book a long time. I've had this book since high school. I was really interested in neuroscience at one point, but I decided that science was not my path. And then on the side, we have some really fun books. We have some fun, oversized books. I have my big Star Wars cutout book here. So, foot warning. So, look at this stuff. Oh, I actually have this poster over there. How fortuitous. If you don't like this stuff, I don't know what are you doing with your life? Awesome. The Millennial Falcon. Sandcrawler. I had a Sandcrawler. I wonder if I still have it somewhere. Then we have Dinotopia. I love the dinosaurs. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Look at this. Look at this. They don't make books like this anymore. This is some nostalgia right here. Look at that. What the heck? This is amazing. How is this so amazing? Look at that. Dinotopia was the best. Oh, this is one of my favorite books as a kid. I'm wrecking my... Look at these, look at this. Look at this drawing here. Who is the artist? Tim Gardam. Tim Gardam, you are amazing. I loved dinosaurs back in the day. If you go to the, not university, but the Houston Museum of Natural Sciences, they have some amazing stuff. Especially because Texas had quite the megafauna. Like there's giant sloths and giant armadillos. Here's my Warlords of Draenor collector's edition back when I still played WoW. Never again. And then we just have a few other things here. Not really much to say. I got a William Sonoma chocolate cookbook here, so that's useful. Okay, and to wrap this up, I'd like to show you. I have a few books over here that didn't quite make it. Not really too interested though. You know, it's whatever. I'm going to show you some nerd cred here. I found these books. And this really takes me back. This is me in high school or pre-high school. So I had Superboy. I wasn't really into comics, but I picked up one or two. Superboy and Superman. I really don't remember this at all. This is a pretty cool Superboy. And let's just say men were men and women were women. So yeah. And then I have all my Pokemon stuff here. The official Pokemon handbook. Awesome. Did you know that there's only 151 Pokemon? And anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. But to be honest, I was less Pokemon and more Digimon. This was the Digimon World PlayStation game. Look at this. This is some old PlayStation 1 stuff, guys. This is amazing. I think I'm going to try to put this poster up. It's just too cool to not put up. Look at all that stuff. Oh my goodness, let's not look at that. It looks terrible. Amazing. But here's really cool stuff. Here we have some Star Wars comics. Let's see, who wrote these? Based on Timothy Zahn. Yeah, he's good. Baron Bukovic, Schnauer, and Rambo. And who is this guy? Wagner, Gibson, and Amash. I don't recognize those names. But this is actually really good art. I read this stuff back in high school. What's that? It's actually a newsprint. It's not glossy newsprint. Then we have Star Wars Last Command with Mara Jade. Pretty cool. And then here's a poster from that book I showed you. Dang it, come on. Look at that. I think I want to put this on my door. I think I'm going to put this on the back of my door. I don't think it'll show up in the videos, but it's still pretty cool. That's awesome. And then here we have, I thought I'd show you this for some nostalgia. I played this game so much. This is, look at those graphics. Oh my goodness, this book is falling apart. Look at those graphics though. Isn't that amazing next gen graphics right there? I don't even know what year this came out in. Probably like in 2000. Oh my goodness. Good Lord. But this book, let's take a look at this book, guys. The Star Wars Universe by Ralph McQuarrie. Okay? So Ralph McQuarrie was a concept artist for Star Wars. He was Star Wars. So when you look at this art, this is the art that inspired Star Wars, okay? Now this was done afterwards. And it gives all this different background and all these different stories on all these different planets. Look at that, this is Coruscant. Dagobah. It gives you the history of the planets. Look at that. That is amazing. Hoth. Oh, the Ewoks. Oh my goodness. You can guess what's going to happen. What's going to happen to the little Ewok? Oh no. Oh no. Poor little Ewok. There's Billy D. Williams. Isn't that beautiful? Alrighty, guys. Well, foot warning. Alright, guys. It's been great. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of my books, my library, my stuff. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, be sure to leave those in your comments. Like and subscribe. Be sure to hit that bell like the Wu-Tang Clan. And y'all have a good day now, you hear?